What is going on, Junkie Nation? Gorgeous George and Goes are back with another superstar in the world of combat sports. This time we get to talk to the founder and president of Bare Knuckle Fighting Championships, David Feldman, former pro boxer himself. What's going on, David? How are you?
I'm doing well, man. Thanks for having me. Love you
Yeah.
guys.
Thank you, man. It's great to catch up with you. It's been a while, and so we have a couple of off the wall stuff, which is kind of our thing. But at the same time, we do want to talk about the upcoming events. You got some really good ones coming up, and they're coming up in a big block of 3. So the first one was I was thinking about you because the other day ESPN and the UFC raised their price of ESPN Plus, and that follows a few months ago when they raised the price of their pay-per-views. So ESPN Plus, the streaming service, and then the pay-per-views is a whole separate thing. And I started thinking, you guys, from all accounts, are a successful business. Everyone loves Bare Knuckle. 4 years plus now doing your guys' thing, and yet still very affordable. For example, $4.99 a month for the BKFC app, or you can grab it for $50 for the whole year. And then I started looking at the tickets in London, the tickets in Tampa. 50 gets you in the door. And even if you go hardcore VIP, you're not paying more than like 400 pounds, which is about $480. How do you keep it so affordable? And yet at the same time, again, props to you guys financially. You guys seem to be very stable and things are going great.
No, absolutely. You know, we knew that this was not going to be a profitable situation right away, and we planned it that way. So, you know, obviously you want to make money as fast as you can, but we knew that it was going to be a little bit of a journey. And right now we're in the process of really turning the corner and going from the red to the black, which is a great thing for us right now. You know, we have a lot of other things that are involved in this business, such as the betting, such sponsorships, international rights, everything like that, that all adds into this ticket and helps us, you know, keep our head above water as we're growing this, I think, a fantastic sport and this great promotion. But I mean, you know, we're slowly but surely getting there. We're in a great spot right now, and are we ever going to raise the price? Sure, we're going to raise the price, but we're never going to go from $4.99 to $9.99 to $19.99. You know, with inflation, you're going to have to raise it a dollar or two, but we're always going to be very, very affordable because the main thing is eyeballs, getting eyeballs on this sport, and then more and more people know about it, more and more people watch it, and then more business opportunities come our way for that.
Yeah, so you may have answered my next question because trust me, the day you guys raise it, and I would expect it, I'm all in because you guys have pulled me in through exciting fights, but at the same time, I'm rooting for you guys, you know, because you make it so easy to become a fan. In fact, is that a strategy?
No, absolutely. I mean, I don't want to make it. I mean, even in the new app and a lot of new things that we're doing, we call them curb cuts because my initial investor was in a big gym franchise, and he talked about, you know, look, if you have to make the customer go around the curb one too many times, they're not coming to your place. They're going to a place where they can just pull up, get out of the car, and go in. So we want to make it easier and eliminate the curb cuts and make it as easy as possible for these fans to come in, watch this sport, and hopefully, you know, become a subscriber and then become a loyal fan. So yeah, we just want to make it as easy as possible for the fans to come in, and I think we've done that, and we're going to continue doing that.
Another thing that I wanted to ask you as well, with now you guys going to the UK for Perry versus MVP, um, it reminded me of a conversation we had with Coker years ago, where this was pre-pandemic. He had a vision of possibly going to Rome and fighting in the Colosseum. And you know, when I talk to my casual friends that don't follow combat sports as closely, they'll tell me, man, those guys are like gladiator days when they talk about bare knuckle. And that's what made me think of that. So now that you guys are traveling, you've been to Thailand, you're going to the UK. Have you ever thought of something like that, like exotic spots, or maybe even the Coliseum itself?
I mean, it's funny that you said that. We actually had a conversation today about the Colosseum, but they said it's probably going to be almost next to impossible to do a fight in there. We are in talks of wrapping up a venue right now for late October in Italy, in Florence, Italy, actually, and we're hoping to do a pretty big show there. Come, like I said, the end of October. But to do those, I mean, look, I met you guys almost at the beginning of this thing, as we talked before we got on air. I pitched Paulie Malignaggi on your show by saying, "Yo, let me give you a ride to the casino," so I could pitch him on the ride over, and we made that work. What I'm saying is, we came from the warehouses. We came from, these underground basements, and then into our first show was at an ice rink in Cheyenne, Wyoming, the lowest populated state in the country. Now we're doing the Wembley Arena in London. I mean, it's like pinch me, man, because this is unbelievable. We wanted it to go here. We thought it could go here, but for it actually going here, it's actually realizing a dream every day, and it's unbelievable. It's stressful. It's hard work. It's a lot of, problems that come in the way. But when we get to that finish line and get to, have a sold out crowd at the Wembley Arena, everything is worth it. And it is really like a dream come true to do something like that. And to even have a talk to do it at the Colosseum in Rome. I mean, that was an unbelievable conversation. They're just not letting anything go in there right now. But I mean, for those other places that we want to go, I think it's going to be a fantastic journey for us.
As far as the Colosseum question, did they say, so you said no right now, was it COVID related or something else that you can share with us? And did it sound like there maybe the door is open for a future event?
I think there's something structurally a matter with it right now. They didn't go into detail, but it wasn't like, no, it's bare knuckle, get out of here. They actually liked the fact that it was bare knuckle, but there was something going on with the facility. So, I mean, if it gets fixed and they're doing other kinds of events like that in there, I think that we definitely could be in the running for that.
All right, and here's another one. Please don't hate me for asking it. I'm gonna try and phrase it as respectful as I can. So we've talked about, yeah, man, those dudes are like gladiators, bare knuckle, this, that, right? My father's joked around and he says, oh, excuse me. My father's joked around before and he said, he goes, it's like they're in a prison yard. And of course, my wheels turn. Our show used to end with Johnny Cash, Folsom Blues.
Yep.
So we know concerts have taken place in prisons, and it probably may not be realistic for a professional sporting event to happen there. But back in the day, I remember reading that Alcatraz, after it closed, it hosted sporting events. So in a prison that may have closed, is that too close to maybe making it look like maybe you guys are too carnal or whatever, or is that more down your alley that you are looking for those types of spots?
I mean, it absolutely could be a possibility. I actually sparred at Graterford Prison in Philadelphia. A bunch of us from the gym, we went in there and sparred some of the inmates. And actually, there was a light heavyweight. He actually fought for the heavyweight championship of the world, James Scott. He was in Rawway Prison in New Jersey, and they actually did live professional boxing from that prison. So it's definitely not out of the realm. It's not like something on my bucket list where I said, let me do a show in a prison. But I mean, if the opportunity arises and I think that we can make some good headlines doing it, absolutely.
Yeah. What about a military base?
Oh, yeah, I would love to do that. We're actually in talks with 3 of them right now. I think that's definitely going to happen probably in the first half of 2023.
That's awesome.
Yep,
well, again,
absolutely.
We're always cheering for you because luckily Goes and myself did catch the birth of MMA. UFC 1, saw it all the way through now, and then to see the birth of the rebirth, because of course almost 100 years ago this thing was happening. You brought it back, so seeing it through BKFC has been really, really cool to follow that journey, and it seems like those types of ideas seem to excite you, and that's why we're throwing them your way.
No, everything does. Look, anything you got to think outside the box. Why being inside the box, right? We're a fighting sport that's inside the box. Bare knuckle seems to be outside the box, but it's where everything started. It's where the whole thing started, all the way back in the late 1800s in the United States, but actually in the early 1800s in the UK. So we're actually also bringing this sport back to the UK. It's not like the first time ever there, but all these little things that are going to get people to talk about it. I can't wait to do these kind of things. Look. It took me a while. I mean, I had thin skin at the beginning because this was like my baby. And whenever anyone said it's too brutal or it's trash or it's this or it's that, I was, it hurt every single one of them. I was like, oh man, that hurt. So to be able to expand these things and do things that people are going to talk about, they're going to talk good about it and they're going to talk bad about it. And I have to be able to take both of them. And I am now just a bigger and better way now. And it's great. So anything that we can do to get people to talking about it, whether it's good or bad, get them talking about it because it's going to turn good because we're doing everything we're supposed to do right. So it'll eventually turn good. But if we can get people talking about it, that's the name of the game.
David, one thing that I think you guys have been great at from the very get-go was breaking news, and not just breaking it, but I mean, it slaps you across the face. Things that you would just never expect, and they just pop up like that, right? Can you tell us about the conception of this idea with Mike Perry and MVP? Like, how long did it take from the moment it popped into your head to the moment it was actually executed? And can you talk about the progression of it?
Yeah, absolutely. It wasn't something that we actually set out and said, let's do Mike Perry versus MVP. It was, we had another main event at Wembley, and that fell through. So I actually had the whole card built and said, man, we don't have a main event now. And I had Mike Perry fighting in Florida. So, instead of that, I pulled Mike Perry. I said, let's have Mike Perry over here. And who can we get him against? And one of the guys said, actually, David Hay, former boxing world champion, said, let me talk to MVP and see if he can do it. And, I was like, of course, let's do it. But I don't think Bellator's ever going to allow that. And by the time we actually had the first conversation with Bellator, to the time it got done, I think it was 7 to 10 days. It really was not a long journey, and it was very easy. And, Mike Hogan made it very, very easy for us to get this job done. So thanks to Mike.
And it's so refreshing because as fans, we all hope these types of things could happen, but throughout the years, it just really hasn't happened. Going forward, is there going to be more dialogue between not just Bellator, but maybe other organizations, and where they would allow fighters to do that? And then would you also welcome your fighters? A lot of them come from a mixed martial arts background, to do the same thing.
I'm in a different spot right now that a lot of people don't understand. Like, I'm in a spot where I just want eyeballs on us. Like I said earlier, I want people talking about us, seeing it for the first time, because they watch it for the first time. Chances are they're going to become a fan of this sport. But that being said, is like, I can do an MVP for one fight and let him go back to Bellator, and it doesn't hurt me. It just helps me. I don't mind if I use somebody for one fight, or I share them for one fight, however you want to say that, and then they go back to another organization. So that's something that we would always do. And yes, I think if one of my fighters could fight in Bellator or the UFC or one of the bigger organizations out there, and get them fans to start seeing my guy, and then they follow him back to Bare Knuckle, it just works. It works all the way around. But I can see that it doesn't work for every promotion in the world. But I think that if these guys open their eyes and saw that you could get different fan bases now crossing over, I think it definitely works.
David, so we were having fun the other day, and we did a little bit of a poll on one of our shows where we were saying, look, Nate Diaz has made it pretty clear it's going to be his last fight in the UFC. But when he leaves, we asked, what are the possibilities that you could see him go through? And a lot of people voted BKFC. Maybe not right away, but eventually. Once he becomes a free agent, will BKFC kind of land a call and maybe try and get a guy like Nate Diaz? Seems like a great guy to have there.
I think it would be a great fit for our organization. Let's see what happens with this fight that they just announced in the UFC with him. I mean, the one thing I always want to worry about is that these fighters should still be fighting, and not saying he definitely should be fighting right now. But after a tough fight like that, does he want to continue fighting? Is his heart in it? Is his body still in it? And is he ready to do it? And if those answers are yes, 100% we would be in the Nate Diaz team. 100%.
Our audience is mostly MMA, but they watch boxing, submission wrestling, bare knuckle, a little bit of everything, but there's always constantly new fans. So now they're getting to talk to the founder and president of BKFC. And it got me thinking. Goz and I are going to be doing another segment with some friends of ours on another show, and we're talking about the Hagler Hearns of MMA. So we're going to throw out some fights that we watched in MMA that were as barn burners like that one, which I know of from the mid 80s in boxing. If you were to tell us, guys, in bare knuckle, this is my version of Hagler Hearns, which one would it be?
I think we have two.
Or is there a couple?
Yeah, I think we have a male fight and a female fight. I think the first one would be Artem Lobov versus Jason Knight. I mean, that is the fight that was just an absolute war. They left every single part of their body in that ring. Like they gave it all. And then Artem Lobov won a close decision there. And then they had a rematch, and Jason Knight ended up stopping him. But I think that's our Hagler Hearns of the men's, and our Hagler Hearns of the women's would be Christine Faria versus Helen Peralta. It's a fight where both ladies got dropped multiple times, and then it went on to to be a victory for Helen Peralta. So I have 2 fights there. Hands down, those fights, if you're a combat sports fan at all, look up those 2 fights on YouTube. Artem Lobov versus Jason Knight 1, and Helen Peralta versus Christine Ferea.
Beautiful. I love it. And then I'm not sure if I told you this, but Goes and we did a military morale visit with some fighters, and Luis Palomino went with us.
Oh, great.
And so when I was introducing him to all the different units that we stopped at, he had his belt, and this was like 1 week before he was supposed to defend it, by the way. And so he was, in real strict camp, just drinking water, but pleasant with the troops. But I would always introduce him as, the champion at Bare Knuckle. He's also fought in mixed martial arts. And a couple times I really, really wanted to put it out there. And I was even going so far as to saying, arguably the greatest of all time in Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship. He's now had 2 more title defenses since then. What would you say, David? Would you say he's that guy, or is he at least in a Mount Rushmore? Because you guys are now forming history now going into your 5th year.
Yeah, I certainly think he's one of the best that ever did this so far. I think as the sport evolves, as the promotion evolves, and as we get a lot more talent, fighters are going to get better. Why? Because they're going to learn how to fight this sport more than they already do now. So I think that Luis Palomino has a master's degree, if you will, in bare knuckle fighting right now. He knows how to fight bare knuckle fighting, and he's definitely one of the top 3 at worst that has really ever fought bare knuckle fighting in the current modern era.
Nice. All right. Definitely high praise there. A couple more here on the way out. Thank you so much for your
just one more thing on Luis, just in case you guys don't know. We're actually going to give him a homecoming. We're going down to the National Stadium in Peru on October 29th. Yeah, we're going to let him go back to Peru October 29th, and we're going to do a fight down there. So that's going to be fantastic.
Oh, wow. I did not know that. Are you just dropping that now, or has that been out there?
No, we talked about it, but we just made it official. We got everything, all the I's dotted and the T's crossed. So we're going to go down there. I can't announce the opponent yet because we're working on 2, so I'm not sure who that's going to be, but I think it's going to be fantastic. I think, he thinks and the PR and marketing team down there think that we're going to do 20,000 people there. So I think it's going to be a fantastic event for us.
So our mom's Peruvian. And
nice.
So we connected with him. We covered him, like I say, when he was a World Series of Fighting and all that. And so we actually talked about that. I can't believe that I didn't follow up my Luis Palomino question by saying, you guys ever going to go to Peru? Because we talked about it on the base with him, and he kind of had that sly smile, like something might be cooking. But one more time, October 29th, right, of this year.
Yeah, October 29th of this year. Yep. And we actually have one of our guy that's fighting the co-main event Saturday night in Tampa, Jomi Escoboza. He's actually Peruvian as well. So if he comes out on top on this one, he'll go on that card as well.
Wow.
David, when you go to Peru, go with an empty stomach. The food is amazing.
I heard. Fantastic.
Peruvian cuisine is up there. We grew up with it. So you're going to have a blast. And Goes, we got to try really hard because I think we told Baboon, if you ever go, we're gonna be there. And of course, money's a little bit tight, but maybe we could pull off some sort of a miracle and get down there for something like that, because that sounds like it's going to be epic. Did you say an arena or a stadium?
A stadium. We should just, after this call, let's talk about it sometime, man. I want to make sure you guys are there.
Man, that's nuts. That's so
I think it's the national stadium, right, where the soccer team plays.
Yeah, because we were looking at a different place, and obviously I don't know Peru that well, and he said this one stadium, and everybody said, do not go there. Do not go there. And me being my first time there, I'm like, I'm not going there. So we're going to go to the National Stadium.
Nice.
Yeah. There are some crazy stadiums there for sure. And then but you are going to Lima. So, because in Cusco and in Arequipa, our mom's from Arequipa, man, that's like 7,800 feet elevation. A lot of national soccer teams don't like to bring their best players if they're comfortable in World Cup qualifying because they feel like their lungs are bleeding. Yeah, but Lima is a seaside city, so everything will be there. Everything will be good there.
I heard that, and we're just avoiding we're just going to miss the launch of the World Cup. So we timed it perfectly.
Yeah. Okay. Just a couple other things here. The face-offs. Be honest with us, because you are a cool customer. Like, you stand there in front of the guys. And then, of course, you guys have had some great face-offs, man. A shove here and there. Some people having to get in there. Rumble has to pull somebody back. At the end of the day, that's pretty good business, right? Because I think people start talking about it and sharing it, but inside I can tell, like, you know, you're kind of, you have a great poker face. To me, it looks like you're saying, come on, guys, we can't really have that. But inside you're going, excellent.
You know, it's you described it 100%, because I'm like, man, I don't want to be known for, you know, these gimmicks or everything, but we're not setting them up. So they're natural gimmicks. So if they're natural gimmicks and people are going to talk about them, and, you know, again, like I said, some people talk good about it and some people talk bad about it, but they're talking about it. So if it's something that's going to talk about it and make them promote the fight and make them tune in to watch the fight, then, you know, I'm all for it. But as a former fighter, I am sometimes like ready for one of those punches to crack me. And then, you know, hopefully I don't have to throw a punch, you know what I mean? But my guys are great, man. I mean, you know, I have, you know, we didn't touch on this, but I think I have like just an unbelievable relationship with almost all of my fighters, man. I mean, they all have my number. You know, I talked to a few of them off the cliff. A few of them had some real bad personal problems. A few of them need a few extra bucks here or there. So I've got a great relationship with these guys, but I also know that, you know, how far to throw that leash out to.
Yeah, and we can take it even a step farther. You're saving lives. You had the choking incident with Beltran. So yeah, no one will ever question how much you love your fighters. You know, honestly, when we went on a military trip years ago, about 10 years before the one I just told you about, we went to Afghanistan and we asked Stitch Duran just casually before we were getting ready to board. I think somehow the conversation, how do you think you're going to die? And he says, I think it's going to be on a plane. We're like, what? You tell us now? But I answered, I think I'm going to choke to death. I don't know why, because I think I eat too fast or something. So now I cut my meat a lot smaller. I try and take my time as I get older. But what can you talk about that? I know it's been a few months and you probably talked about it, but not with us. I mean, did you recognize it right away? And like, have you practiced the Heimlich over and over? Or did you just kind of go for it off what you thought you knew?
Now, you know, it's funny because I was sitting there talking to one of my guys, and he's like, "Yo, man, the champ's choking," and I wasn't really catching on like what he was saying. And I'm like, "Okay." He's like, "No, Beltran's choking." So I just went up and I grabbed him from behind and I pumped him a couple times, and he spit it out, and he ended up, you know, saving him, which is great. The reason how I even knew, you know, anything about this at all is my house used to be a training camp for fighters, and this guy Frank the Animal Fletcher was a really, really popular 1980s fighter on NBC, and he was choking, and my dad actually reached back, did the same thing, pumped him a couple times, and the lettuce came out and ended up saving his life. So it was just funny. I saw it actually as I was growing up, and I was able to do it. And Joey's a great guy, so, you know, it couldn't happen to a better guy, you know, to be able to save him.
You can choke from lettuce?
Yeah, it was boom, boom. He hit him.
Wow.
Yeah, he had a couple pieces out there. It just lodged in him. But Frank the Animal Fletcher was one of the most exciting early 1980s fighters out there. He fought on NBC Sports all the time.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's you learned it from Pops. Good stuff. In closing here, Woodley versus Lombard. Does the ship sailed on that, or can you still make that one happen? That seemed to get some attention at one of your previous events about maybe a year ago.
I mean, we'll see. I think, you know, I want to get things that are in the now, and I don't think a lot of people are dying for that fight. You know, I want to get something that people, you know, really want to talk about. And I think like the Mike Perry MVP thing, something no one saw coming, and it came, and I think they're going to really eat this one up. And I have a couple other ones in my back pocket right now that hopefully pull one out in about 2 weeks, and then about 3 or 4 months for the next one. And I think, you know, we're working on a huge, huge fight now. I mean, a fight that everyone's going to say, I can't believe they did that fight. But we're working on it, and I think it's going to get done, and hopefully it gets done, because it'll be unbelievable for combat sports.
Will it be tied to MMA in any way, or is it out other combat sports athletes?
It's other combat sports athletes, but I don't know how much you guys follow Muay Thai, but I just signed the best Muay Thai fighter ever in history, Bukau. I signed him last week, and I have a really big signing coming up in 2 weeks, and I'm probably going to do the biggest fight in Asian combat sports history. I'll probably do that fight in early 2023.
You're going back to Thailand, huh?
Yeah.
I can put 2 and 2 together. All right. So first things first, folks, on Saturday, July 23rd, it's BKFC Fight Night Tampa 2. Check it out. There's an interim bantamweight title that's on the line, Grant versus Barnett. Then August 20th, so about a month from now, is that big MVP Mike Perry matchup that we've been talking about. And then they come to New Mexico for the first time, right? It's BKFC 28, and that one's got the ladies, Ferrer versus Starling, in the main event. You guys are keeping busy, and you're putting out a great product, Dave.
Awesome,
So
man.
keep at it, and thanks for sharing some time today about the promotion and sharing the stories that you did, telling us about the Peruvian fight that's coming up. That's going to be great. So thank you so much.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for having me anytime. And like I said, let's talk off air.
Awesome. All right. Thanks, David.
Yeah, thanks, guys.